Okay, so welcome, Sally, again to the Zoom room. Nice to have you here. So yeah, let's just dive straight into the session, shall we?
Yeah.
I think so. Just share my screen with you. Let's go into today's quote and the email. Okay, so screen. How much time do you have today, by the way?
Well, 3 o'clock would be the latest, but if we could finish a bit earlier, I'd get a bit more done.
Okay. Let's see how we go. Okay, so there we go. There's today's email, which, as I said, you won't have received yet, but I'll send it out afterwards. But you've seen the material on the Telegram group, I imagine. So same.
You make it bigger.
Yeah, I can. There we go. So you want to read that quote?
Time lasted only a moment in your mind with no effect upon eternity, and so all time is past, and everything exactly as it was before. The way to nothingness was made. Exactly as it was before the way to nothingness was made. The tiny tick of time in which the first mistake was made, and all mistakes within that one mistake, held also the correction for that one mistake, and all mistakes that stemmed from the first. And in that tiny moment, time was gone, but that was all it ever was. Pure formless awareness of perfect love gave the answer to, is answered and is gone.
Yeah, what pure formless awareness? Not the easiest one to read. That maybe
it's not easy, is it?
Maybe I need to modify the. It's just the text has gone a bit into the dark. So yeah, any thoughts on that?
No, it's a nice thought that is only here and now. Yeah.
So this is the tiny mad idea of separation that kicked off time and space. He's talking about this one tiny mad idea, and that the correction, the Holy Spirit's reinterpretation of it, is that it never happened, and there's an answer to it in that it's not true. It never happened, and that answer is, when we apply that into the seeming happenings of this world, that process we call forgiveness, or letting go in our language. You bring the illusions to the truth of that realization, and that's complete letting go, or radical forgiveness. Okay, but let's dive into it a bit. So if you read the first paragraph.
In today's quote from the Course in Miracles text, Yeshua gives us the Holy Spirit's reinterpretation of the moment in which we seemingly made the first mistake and first thought of separation. This never really happened, so our task in this world must be to remind ourselves of this simple truth in the face of the temptations which the world constantly presents us to forget it. Yeah, but that's the thing. Every time you say it, it's like the first time you've ever said it. Every time you repeat that, it's like, oh yeah.
Oh. Yeah, because it's so easy to forget. The world is the temptation to forget the truth. It was designed as a veil of illusion to cover the truth. So the world is the temptation. Our sense perceptions, the external world, what we think is happening in the world, is the temptation to forget the truth. That's its only real purpose. So if we want to know the truth, we must view it correctly, perceive it correctly.
So in a busy day, when there's a lot going on, and you know what we were talking about, lots of interruptions and people and going and demands that seem quite urgent, you know, you can mutter to yourself, this never happened and it's all an illusion, and keep practicing being in the moment. And then it does change the energy of it, doesn't it? Because you're just in flow and you just go from one illusion to the next as you work through the energy. But it can be a bit crazy sometimes, can't it? It can seem like, God, why is it getting so busy? Or why is all this happening? Oh, that's a bit much.
Mm.
But it's a practice, isn't it?
Oh, so it's a practice to bring the mental and emotional calm of this non-dual state, beyond time, into your daily life where things are kicking off. It's an art, isn't it? So you're like, well, I still have to engage in this stuff. So I can't completely deny it because there's still some level of, I'm engaging on the level of form. But mentally and emotionally, I remain in this calm place as though it weren't happening.
Yeah, somebody said to me, sorry, I was just going to say, somebody said to me this morning, I was really busy and I just needed to do some food prep. And then somebody contacted me and said, can I interview you about the courses you're doing? And I said, oh yeah, January, February, that sort of time. They go, no, I was thinking. And I go, I heard myself say, yes, all right, half an hour. And then I look at all the mess in the kitchen and think, oh, I was going to do all this. And but yeah, I stayed in the flow and did it. And as she was asking questions, it was a different sense than it could have been. It could have been, oh, what am I going to say? Oh, this feels really uncomfortable. Do I really want to be doing this? I wish I'd do something else. But actually it was, yeah, with the lesson, this world lasts only for a moment. I was in the moment and produced a heartwarming, happy moment. So yeah, just reminding though, isn't it? As an ego person, I would have said, oh no, not for a couple of months, I'm busy.
Yeah.
But only now.
You responded in the now and just did it. So it's a correction. You notice the temptation to go there, but then the correction is, the miracle is, you didn't take the bait, you didn't fall into the temptation. And that's why we do the training, mind training, so that you recognize the ego for what it is, and then you make the correction in the moment. And then each moment, what he's really pointing to here is that each moment when you do that, the miracle is denying that any of this has happened in that moment, and restoring your mind into its original state of peace. So it's reversing the whole of time and space, really, in that moment. It's quite profound. You go, wow, that's pretty amazing and intense. But that's what the Holy Spirit can do in the holy instant, as he calls it, which is just when you're fully present in the now moment. You can do that.
I was listening back to some old videos I made a couple of years ago, or 18 months ago, and I listened to the tone of, the energy of my voice, or tone of my voice, and I thought, oh God, I've changed a lot recently. That the energy that I was portraying, which I thought was pretty good 18 months ago, is very different now, and I could hear it in my voice, and I couldn't share that energy that I was recording a year ago, because it just didn't feel like me anymore. It just didn't feel in alignment or in flow. It sounded like I was doing it because I needed to make a video, rather than doing it, presence is here and I just wanted to share the peace and flow with somebody. So that was an interesting comparison today.
Well, it shows you made progress.
Yeah.
If you were exactly the same as you were 18 months ago,
yeah.
What progress is there? Really? So you've moved on. I know some guys, I think I might have mentioned this before, the whole sort of motivational speaking industry. These guys, one of them was my friend. I went to school with him. They do the same talk over and over and over again for years. For years, the same idea. I mean, how can you do that? Where's the growth? But I guess it's just a performance. They go, well, I've got it word perfect. I know it off by heart. I trot it out. I get paid very well for it. but there's something missing, isn't there? You're like, well, where's the originality? Where's the spirit coming through? Where's your own growth and sharing? And you listen to people who don't have a pre-planned speech, and you can hear the difference. It's coming from a more authentic place. It's maybe a little bit of stuttering and the odd, but it's just much more authentic than someone who gets up there and word perfect, and they'll get it bang on to an hour. It's like it's timed, so it's exactly to an hour because that's what they have to deliver for a keynote speech, and the pauses and everything's pretty much bang on. And you could listen to it in another instance. I did that a couple of times with this friend, and it was the same. There was almost no difference, no variation. He didn't bring in anything else. It was identical, the same pauses, the same jokes. And you kind of like, okay, it's just a performance then. It's a bit like he actually was originally an actor. So it's a bit like an acting, you just repeat the same performance. But then I was listening to Judi Dench the other day, and she said, no, what's great about acting live on stage as opposed to film is that each night is different. So although you might be saying the same lines, it's going to come out differently, and there's a different energy, and it's a different crowd, and that's what she loved, because there was some kind of flow with it, and it was moving rather than just the same old. So anyway, just to reflect on it, although the truth is unchanging, as we move towards it, we do start to change. So change is necessary in this world in order to get to the changeless essence, eternal presence of who we really are, which is a paradox, because we must change, or we must move away from our ego state into another state, and that process is called change.
What occurs to me is maybe someone that's fully in their ego listens to an ego speech and it might appeal to them, but somebody that's more aware of the energy wouldn't appeal to them. So it depends where you are listening to it, doesn't it? Maybe he's aiming that repeated talk to those people that are very in that state.
It's a talk given to mass audiences. Companies pay good money for it. The employees show up to listen to this for an hour. So that's the audience. It's not often awake people, or some of them might be, but the majority are probably not on a spiritual path or journey. So it's designed for that market, for that audience. And so I understand why they do it and why it works. He's very successful, but that's not going to awaken anyone. That's just it's just some bite-sized little bits of motivation for people to maybe take away. Maybe there's some benefit, but it's just a talk, and then probably most people forget it, and the next day they just carry on as usual. And I always found that a bit unsatisfying. I was like, I want to do transformation. I want to really see people change and shift, and that probably means you can't do it for thousands of people, because it doesn't work that way. But I'd rather do more smaller groups and get that feeling like you actually are changing someone's life than just splurge it out to a mass audience and go, well, I got paid really well for it, but did it really change anything? I'm not sure. Which so I moved away from that. I did a bit of that motivational speaking, but I moved away from it. And as you just follow the call, don't you? Just say, okay, well, where do you need to go? And it's led me here to this program, and then really a deep dive into A Course in Miracles, and bringing it into hopefully a form that's accessible and able to really change people's lives.
There's something very special about having a conscious conversation with spirit. You feel that interaction, and that there's magic happening in the conversation. I was having one with Jackie the night before last, I think it was, or last night, and we were talking, and we'd go, I don't know why I'm saying that. We get to the end of the sentence, and then like we're not following a theme. It's just like, it was just like, as we talked, we could feel the healing happening. I'm getting more of those conversations happen where I really know something special is happening. In your mind, you can't make sense of it, but yeah, special.
Well, it's the spirit's taking over. So, it's miraculous. Use the word special. I understand what you mean, but I always like
I don't mean it in that term. I mean it's
miraculous. It says something out of extraordinary. Actually, it's quite a good word. It's an extraordinary experience. And he's saying, Yeshua's saying, well, that's how your life should be, filled with, what become normal to you. But for most people, these are extraordinary experiences. But your life is just populated by them because you're in an extraordinary state of mind. And if you put yourself in that state of mind by, doing the mind training and opening up, and if you do this as you've experienced, this really is life changing. It does radically change everything about your life, how you perceive yourself, the world, how you're going to think and speak and act. And as you said, you looked at that video from 18 months ago and you went, who is that person? And I don't really know. So you've changed quite dramatically from that, which is, what this is about. Life changing is a word used. It's a cliche, this life changing that in the personal growth industry. But to make that authentic, that's what I've always tried to do. So, okay, can you really do that? Like really change people's lives? Because that's what matters. That's what's really meaningful. Everything else is just superfluous fluff. If it's not really changing their mind and their life, and it doesn't really deserve the word transformation.
And then the person's got to be willing to be in that energy of transformation.
Yeah. So you can only work with those who are willing, which is why going into an audience that's been put there by a company or something probably isn't going to work. You can't do it there because not everyone's willing. They've been told, right, you've got this talk, so show up. For people to be willing, requires that they've been on their own journey. They've come to a point in their life where they like, okay, I'm up for this, and then they willingly show up, and that narrows it down a lot to well, as we can see, a few people in this program. It's not to say there might not be hundreds around the world, but to find them, hundreds, thousands of people on the path, that's the thing, because they it's not everyone. Okay, so where were we? How do I do this? You may well ask, which was remind ourselves of the simple truth in the face of the temptations which the world constantly presents us. Okay, so it's kind of a rhetorical question, but go with it and then read the answer.
How do I do this? You may well ask. The simple answer is by radically forgiving or completely letting go of any thoughts and emotions that make you forget the simple truth. And how exactly do I let go of these? You may well ask again. By reminding yourself that these negative thoughts and emotions, in whatever form they take, and the people, events, and circumstances that seemingly cause them are not real and never really happened. It's funny, really, isn't it? It makes me giggle. It's not real, never happened.
Well, it's that simple correction. That's all we're doing. That's what forgiveness involves. So even though you've experienced it seemingly in the dream, you correct your mind. You say, this never really happened. And that brings in another awareness. This never really happened, so therefore I can remain in a peaceful state. It neutralizes all of these negative thoughts and emotions constitute the ego. So it's really simple. You're just bringing the illusion to the truth, and that's what forgiveness involves. But the truth is so radically mind-blowing and totally contradicts the world that that's what makes it difficult. Because most people have a tendency to want to believe the world. How can you say that didn't really happen? It's happening. How can you deny that it's happening? Because it's happening in a dream, and the dream isn't true. The dream isn't real. You're in a hallucination. So whatever happens in the hallucination is not real. Yeah, we're familiar with this in dreams. You dream a dream, could be a very pleasant dream or a nightmare, and then you wake up. And where's the dream? Well, it's nowhere, it's gone. And you maybe have a memory of it, which will fade very quickly, and then it's gone. So it was a temporary mind-created experience that lasted for a few moments and then was gone. So how real was that at all? So we can see that with our sleeping dreams. And yes, you're saying, well, how do you know that your waking dreams, they seem to be more real, but how do you know this isn't a dream? And it's the same. It's just you're dreaming, and it seems the illusion is that it's happening and it's going on for a very long time. You seem to be have a whole lifetime here, many sequential experiences that make up your life. But really, you've got sucked in from an idea of separation. This thought bubble has expanded, and you've got sucked into the thought bubble, and you're now thinking within the thought bubble, within time and space. That's the thought bubble. You're now thinking thoughts of separation. But go back to the original era before the thought bubble existed and just go, well, actually, that thought is false. So therefore, the bubble that it creates can't be real. And anything that happens within the bubble can't be true. And so if you look at, this is the bubble, everything in the red is the bubble. So that original thought of separation is what took us into the bubble. And then everything that happens after that is illusion.
So quite often you say very quickly and very glibly, bring the illusion to the truth, not the truth to the illusion. So I was just pondering that. And so I'm presuming it's it's not real. You bring the illusion in as you don't believe it. And the other way is you're in the dream and you bring, it's kind of a false truth into the dream, isn't it? It's not, because you can only be with truth if you're outside of the dream. So bringing the truth to the dream, you're still in separation and you still see the truth as separate to you.
Yeah. Bring truth to the illusion is to try and make the dream real and say this has really happened, and now I'm going to interpret it as though it's really happened. But bringing illusions to the truth is to remind yourself that every illusion is unreal. So whatever's happened post the idea of separation in the dream world, all of this red stuff, guilt and the sin and the fear and the attack thoughts, everything that led us down the ladder of separation into the dream is illusion. That's bringing the illusions to the truth, recognizing that pure formless awareness of perfect love is still there, and it's really unaffected by all of this. It doesn't matter that you've seemingly had this thought and you've now miscreated this world. It's an alternate reality model. Think of it that way. It's like you split off, you've gone somewhere else, you're in this little thought bubble, and nothing that happens within the thought bubble based on the idea of separation is real or true, because the idea of separation that gave birth to the thought bubble is false. So it's an overriding logic that you can apply to everything and everyone that seems to happen in the world. Oh, well, that's false, because nothing here is true. Absolutely not one thing that you can perceive with your body's eyes and senses is true. It's all part of the hallucination that the ego's created in order to trick us into believing that we really are separate. We have actually left pure formless awareness of perfect love. And now we're in this world, and we have to make the best of it.
So this is going to be an annoying question, I should imagine. So why the blue arrows then? Because if everything in the oneness is blue, why is there an arrow like from the pure formless awareness into individuality? Is that just showing the split, the blue arrows?
Well, it goes both ways. So, it's got an arrow on either side, because the Holy Spirit can perceive what's happening in time.
Oh, okay.
So it goes, and it can look at individuality and guilt and sin and false expectations appearing real, of punishment appearing real, and so on, without believing them. It looks upon them, perceives them, but doesn't buy it, doesn't buy the story. And it simply reminds yourself, so that's the other arrow going the other way, reminds you that this is not true, that what you're seeing, perceiving isn't true. And so that's bringing the illusions to the truth. You perceive them, but you interpret them as unreal.
Hang on, it's bringing the illusions to the truth.
Hmm.
So when you forget you're a separate identity, and then you remember, and then you go back along the blue line back to the oneness. But yeah, there's a bit of a block there in my head. So you're in the oneness, but you're aware of the ego. So you're in the oneness and aware of the guilt, but you're aware you're not the guilt. So the blue line is like you're stretching out into the illusion, but you're not lost in it.
Yeah. So there's an awareness. This is the Holy Spirit in you that can perceive these things.
All right. So the blue line is Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
The reinterpretation of the ego's dream by the Holy Spirit, or awareness of oneness. So it's the actual act of reinterpretation, of perceiving the dream, but then reminding yourself simultaneously, okay, but this isn't real. Only oneness is real. And that is the correction. That's the miracle. When you really correct your mind like that, and then your mind remains in this awareness. So you no longer believe in this stuff. You're not sucked into the game of egoic thought and emotion, and you remain in this higher awareness.
Yeah. Okay.
And without that, you would be lost. There'd be no way home. That's why the Holy Spirit's so important, because you have to work with perception while you're here and transform it. And God is pure formless awareness and perfect love that doesn't know anything about this. So how then are you gonna reinterpret? There's a part of your mind that knows oneness perfectly, but you can then perceive and engage in the physical senses and stuff. Sorry, someone's at the door again. Give me a moment. Another distraction. All right, sorry. Someone doing a tree inspection.
Yeah, right.
Just saying he's finished. So realizing, none of this, so it seemingly happens, but you realize that none of it's really happening. So you live in this world, where the real world, where none of it really matters, because you realize it's not really happening, and it's never really happened. And you can remain at peace because of that. It's the only way you can remain at peace, because if you make what's happened seemingly real, the guilt and the sin and the fear, the attacks and the accusation, blame and complaint, and the death that attends all of this. There's no happiness. It's not possible. If you believe this, then it's guaranteed you'll be unhappy and not peaceful. So this is the only way that you can have peace no matter what. It has to be a blanket denial. You can't say, well, some parts of the dream are okay and good and real, therefore, and some are not. It's an all or nothing approach. It's either all real or it's all not real.
Yeah.
The truth is true and nothing else is true. This is how I said that. So this is the process of what Yeshua calls bringing illusions to the truth. They must dissolve. Both the truth and what seemingly contradicts the truth cannot be true. So this quote says that, it's so simple, but he needs to say it. So do you want to read that?
The truth is true and nothing else is true. There's no opposite to choose instead. There's no contradiction to the truth. Yeah.
So simply accepting that and going, well, everything else doesn't exist. It seems to, that's the illusion, but it doesn't. There's actually only one direction I can go in. There's no other option. Well, now you have a clear guide for decision making. You can't get confused, can you? You're on one track. It's pointing in the direction of truth. And anything else you ignore. Any other roads, signposts, you just go, these aren't true. So then you can't get lost. But we need to learn this. So we need to learn to discern the difference between the truth and the illusion, and that's why we need the mind training. And then he says immediately after this, in the same workbook lesson, which is 138. Do you want to read that?
Yeah, a minute. I'm messing with my screen and now it's all changed. Hang on. Weird. Okay. Choosing depends on learning, and the truth cannot be learned, but only recognized. In recognition, its acceptance lies, and as it is accepted, it is known. But knowledge is beyond the goals we seek to teach within the framework of this course. Ours are teaching goals to be attained through learning how to reach them, what they are, what they offer you. Decisions are the outcome of your learning, for they rest on what you have accepted as the truth of what you are and what your needs must be.
Any thoughts on that?
Truth cannot be learned.
But only recognized, because it's already true. So all we have to do is let go of what's false, and then we'll recognize what's true. So recognition rather than a learning. But so what we must learn to do is to undo our belief in illusions. That's where the learning lies. So that we can again recognize the truth.
Yeah.
Okay.
As you will know, when you have recognized the truth, because of the feeling that arises within you. And it is these moments of insight, or satori, as they're called in Japanese Zen Buddhism, that constitute the awakening process or hero's journey. What will help me have more of these aha moments? Maybe your next question. Obvious question. Any authentic spiritual practice, such as reading and reflecting on the Course in Miracles workbook lessons, meditating, and conscious breathing, can open your mind to these satori moments. But what seems to work most consistently is joining the live discussion and meditation sessions. I've had many such moments, so joining these live sessions seems to be a catalyst for these aha moments, as you'll see from one of Sally's recent posts on the Telegram group. Oh, that you've included.
Oh.
Yep.
So these kinds of moments, when you go an aha moment, that's what's called a satori, an insight, where something's revealed itself to you, and you feel internally like there's a shift. And if you show up to the live sessions as you do, most days, then you're giving yourself the opportunity to have those shifts. Because it seems like the Holy Spirit uses these conversations and discussions to create those shifts. Yeah. It's more likely to happen if you live in the session than afterwards. I'm not saying it can't happen in a recording, it can. But there's something about live, interaction, conversation, as you say, that's very powerful.
Yeah, because it kind of moves it on in my head. If I ask a question that's right there, it can stop the next flow of energy. So if I can ask the question and then you say something and that just shifts it, it helps move on a lot further. Yeah, I always have shifts of understanding during the sessions.
Yeah. And so those little ahas or big ahas are little moments of satori where you're recognizing the truth. And moment by moment, because today's lesson and quote's all about the moment by moment, in that moment, you're correcting your false belief in separation. In that moment, the truth has revealed itself, and in that moment, you no longer believe in the illusion. And so moment by moment, in the now, we restore our mind to the state of mind that is timeless, that's beyond time, before the idea of separation occurred. And that's, that freedom is available to us right now. Because it's eternal. It's always been there. That means it's available now. In fact, the now is the closest approximation for eternity in this world, which is why the now is fundamental to every authentic spiritual teaching and practice, because that is the portal to eternity. There is no past and future in eternity. Eternity doesn't change. So it's only ever what's here right now. You really access that then when you tap into this power. And hence, Eckhart Tolle's book, The Power of Now. It's really the power of eternity perceived in this world, in the moment. That's what makes the now powerful. Okay, so any thoughts on that?
Well, I used to think I had very now moments. I used to think that my client sessions were very in the moment, but just lately they've been a different caliber. I've just been so consciously aware of the connection while talking. It's like, it feels like there's a greater being or part of me with the bigger picture overhearing it all and directing the conversation.
That's your higher awareness. Divine intelligence, call it whatever you want. That's able to come in the moment and be here now, be in the flow of life, but stay rooted in eternity. So you're in the world, but not of the world, as Yeshua put it. Still able to function and operate, but without believing in the stories. And that's the essence of the flow state. You're not buying into the ego stories, but you're able to operate in a very functional, effective way. You let go of the false stories in your mind. These Satori moments, the moments when you get these insights that help you to do this, moment by moment by moment. So it's an accelerator. You know, you're joining the live sessions almost every day. It's going to accelerate the undoing of the ego quite dramatically. I mean, I think you're saving yourself years through this.
Yeah, it feels like it. And those people that are my friends that were on a par with me and haven't attended the sessions, if I can feel the difference.
Yeah, because you've done the work and evolved, and they haven't necessarily. In time they will, but then, you know, maybe your job is now to lead them. You be the way shower. If you're gonna be a way shower, you must be at least one step ahead. You don't want to leave them behind, so, you know, not too many steps ahead, but still able to relate to them, talk to them, speak to them, engage, be in the world, but not of it, coming from the other place, the deeper place, rather than from a worldly place. Okay, that brings us to our live session, which is where we are now. So I wanted to maybe just share this. It's a pity Jackie's not there, because I think she would really benefit from this, but maybe she can catch up on the recording. Anyone new? Eden's also joined recently. So I just want to spend maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes on explaining this descent into hell, because it's really pertinent to today's lesson. You know, the tiny tick of time he's talking about. A tiny mad idea of separation seems to enter into the mind, and we believe in it. And that's the whole problem. One tiny mad idea of separation, one tiny tick of time, leads to the birth of this alternate reality. And how it happens is through this process of identification. So we have an idea of separation. We're curious. We go, well, that could be interesting. That offers me my own identity. Okay, I want to explore that. If we'd said, no, you know, that's not a good idea, let's just let that go, it would have just been undone straight away. We never would have had to go through this whole fall, separation, descent into hell. But that idea intrigued us. It's like, well, we've only ever experienced oneness, and there's something else, something different. So we say to ourselves, well, you know, that could be a good idea. Let's go. Let's give that a go. So it starts with a curiosity, an innocent wondering, develops into desire. You now actually desire what the ego is holding out to you, which is another awareness and another reality. And then you believe that so much that you now establish this ego, which is just a separated consciousness. That is the belief in separation by definition. In the religious terms, they call that Satan. In the Gnostic terms, they call it the universal mind. There's many names for it. But it's another awareness. It's not pure formless awareness of perfect love. It's something else. It seems to be an alternative. In fact, seems to contradict pure formless awareness of perfect love. So, you know, once we've done this, we've got this idea of separation, the ego going on, then the course of the descent is inevitable, because that thought system dictates it. So we believe in separation. We must then believe that we're an individual self, because that's the logical consequence of separation. If you take it to its extreme, everything is then separate. So there must be multiple individual selves. And then you get the idea of sin. So I've now done this. I've named an identity. I've given myself this this identity. And in order to do that, I've had to deny oneness. I've denied pure formless awareness of perfect love, covered it over. And now I have this tremendous guilt arising because of that. Guilt at the sin of destroying God or love or oneness or pure formless awareness. And so that guilt, because of this apparent sin, demands punishment. So now I feel like I'll be punished. And that's the false expectation of punishment appearing real, which then gets projected out into a dream world. So at this point, the ego is freaking out and going, well, this is awful. And it's trying to run away from its imagined fear. And so its plan then is, well, I'll run far away from the guilt and the sin and the fear in my own mind. And I'll literally go out of my mind. I'll go into an illusory reality that I'll miscreate into the physical universe, time and space, where I seem to be separate from everyone and anything else, which of course confirms my idea of separation, and also entrenches the separation in my mind, because it's now everywhere. We see it in all the forms of this world, not just people, but animals and plants. You know, it's just multiple fragmentation and separation going on in this world. So everything just fragments and fragments until, you know, we have a world like we have today where everything and everyone seems to be separate. And to learn a simple truth like this seems overwhelming. And then we get caught up in playing games, because we've got sin and guilt and fear going on, but they're in our unconscious minds. We don't actually want to accept these feel horrible. So what we try and do is then project the guilt and the sin onto others. We say, I'm not responsible, you're responsible. I'm not to blame, you're to blame, and therefore God, this is the concept of the fearful, wrathful, vengeful God, which we've invented. It's an egoic construct. Therefore God will kill you and not me. You understand that? So projecting guilt in the form of blame is a way to seemingly escape the wrath of God and transfer it to someone else. You know, I'm not to blame, but you're to blame, so I'm off the hook. And that is the very, you know, childish mechanism of blame and attack that the ego uses. And then now you're playing the games of accusation, blame, complaint, attack thoughts, projecting them onto other people and things in this futile effort to get rid of your subconscious guilt by projecting it onto others. You're caught up in a cycle, a vicious cycle where there's no help. And the world seems to be very enslaving, very imprisoning. So you live this helpless, enervated little life, thinking that you're a victim of this cruel world. There's all this accusation and blame and attack going on. Seems like you're being unfairly treated. Seems like limitation, lack, loneliness, suffering, and death are very much present in this world. And because of that, happiness is gone. True happiness only lies in identifying with love or pure formless awareness. You will never find it anywhere in the dream world. That's what Yeshua is saying to us. Don't look there, because you won't find it there. So that's a basic summary overview of this, the descent into hell, which is the helpless, enervated little life. And then the solution becomes obvious once you understand this. You go, well, at every point, whatever seems to be showing up in the dream is false. It's based on this descent into hell, all these false beliefs. So all I need to do is deny it. I must reinterpret it with the help of the Holy Spirit, which is just the awareness of oneness, and let it go. And so then you have the double arrow coming in. So the ego's only got arrows going one way because you've departed and you've gone out from your source, and there's nowhere back. But the Holy Spirit says, no, there absolutely is, because you can still perceive these things, but not identify with them, not believe that they're real, which then just that thought corrects your mind and takes you back into this loving awareness, which is your source. And that is the process, that reinterpretation is the process of forgiveness. Or letting go that we're studying. So that's bringing the illusions to the truth. So any thoughts on that?
It always interests me when you talk about the projection of guilt. It was a completely new idea when I joined your program, to realize that was what was happening. Every time you explain it, it makes more sense.
Yeah, it's the only thing that really does make sense in this world, because it explains, an accurate theory should explain observed behavior. So it explains, so much of the insane behavior that we can witness in the world. And then you can start to understand, well, this is what's driving it. Why do people behave the way they do? Well, because they've got this insane thought system driving it. And it doesn't make sense. Yes, you're saying, well, it doesn't make sense. There's a logic to it based on the idea of separation, but none of it makes sense because the idea of separation isn't true. So it's all unreal or false. And so, the only way out of this is you must deny it at every point. Deny every aspect of the projection that is false, and eventually you'll get back to the truth, the awareness of the truth in your mind. And so, we're bringing these metaphysics, sort of high-level metaphysics, into daily life when we forgive or let go. We bring whatever the illusion that's showing up into the truth. We take it along these blue lines, and we restore our mind to a state of relative peace. So our perceptions are no longer able to disturb us. Okay, any further thoughts, comments, questions on that?
No, not right now.
Yeah. Well, it's a big teaching. It's the whole, it's the whole theory of the Course, the metaphysics. But it's important to realize, to know what it is, because then you can actually practice true forgiveness. If you don't understand these metaphysics and you still believe the world is real, then you can't practice radical forgiveness. And what you're doing is either going to be pseudo forgiveness or called it halfway forgiveness, where you kind of have compassion for the suffering of people, So at least you're not condemning them, but you make it real. You're making the suffering real. But radical forgiveness says, but none of it's real. You can't believe in any of it. Okay, so that's the descent into hell, which is the hell is the helpless innovator little life, the self-concept, which is why we translate hell in the text, Course in Miracles, into the victimhood. It's the lowest self-concept you can have. It completely contradicts your true self, the Christ that is pure formlessly aware. So it's saying you must choose. In the end, there is no contradiction. Only the truth is true and nothing else is true. And just accept that. And you will be saved. Okay. So shall we have a look at today's lesson then? Okay, so there's the lesson. If you want to read the original and then the translated version.
Only an instant does this world endure. This world lasts only for a moment.
Yeah, so just only an instant is a little bit old-fashioned. Does this world endure? This world lasts only for a moment. So if you can remind yourself of that, it's all over already. I mean, just think about it. Everything that seems to happen, it comes and it goes. It arises and it passes away so quickly. So you can see that, this is actually true. Although there's other events that arise and pass away. If you just observe life keenly, you'll see that, there's truth in this. Because things arise and they come and they go, they arise and they pass away. And everything just lasts a moment. Every experience is, well, that was that experience, and now it's over. Very, very temporary. You can't hold on to any of it. Whereas this is pointing us beyond the experiences in time to the moment itself, which is the now. So instead of the content of the now, which is the world and everything that happens in the world, we're focusing on the essence of the now, which is eternal, which transcends the content. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you read, there's nothing much to translate, so just read the translated version.
This is a thought which can be used to say that death and sorrow are the certain lot of all who came here, for their joys are gone before they are possessed or even grasped. Yet this is also the idea that lets no false perception keep us in its hold, nor represent more than a passing cloud upon an eternally serene sky. And 'tis this serenity I seek, unclouded, obvious and sure today. The joys are gone before they're possessed.
Everything is so fleeting. So we seek for joy, some kind of satisfaction in this world, and even if it's a nice experience, it's gone so quickly, over. That's what he's pointing to here. Their joys are gone before they're possessed. I like the analogy of the sky. The serene sky is a symbol of eternity, of an unchanging reality. And then everything that covers the sky, the clouds, everything in between is temporary. So it's quite a useful worldly analogy to understand this. Sky doesn't change, it's eternal. That's your true awareness. But if you're looking at the sky from down below on Earth, then it seems to change all the time. You've got clouds happening, shifting, changing. It's not the same. The what's in the foreground, the cloud patterns, is not the same one moment after another. It's continuously changing. But what doesn't change is the sky itself. That's the essence. So a nice analogy just to help us to let go of cloud patterns. I use it in the meditations a lot. Clouds are just the thoughts and emotions of this world that obscure that eternally serene sky. Prevent you from going into this serene. And then I noticed eternity and serenity are very similar, aren't they? Just put a T in there. Serenity. Take out the S, put a T, and you've got it. Eternity. Serenity. So it's the same root word.
I was quite shocked. One of the meditations, you said evil is live backwards. Oh, never noticed that.
So you start paying attention to these symbols, and they're only symbols, they're pointers, but you start to see things that you didn't before. Okay, so serenity is really the same as eternity. It's one letter different. So okay, so serenity and eternity are connected. In fact, serenity is the state of being in eternity, when nothing changes. Nothing moves. So of course you can be serenely peaceful and calm because nothing's ever changing. Great. Any other thoughts on number one?
I always used to wonder what people meant when they said blue sky thinking. Kind of explains it, doesn't it? Sky is the internal energy.
Well, it's used in different contexts. In a business context, it's used to denote someone who's a bit unrealistic. Some kind of out there, imaginative, but it's all blue sky. It's very high, but very lofty, but probably not not likely to be practical or real. In our terms, in spiritual terms, blue sky thinking would actually be no thinking. It would be letting go of thinking, dropping all of that away and just going into thoughtless awareness, which isn't really thinking in subject object terms, although there's an awareness still going on. But it's blue sky thinking would go into pure formless awareness. Okay. So next paragraph, if you read the original, I just did a bit of translation. So let's read the original and then read the alternative.
We seek your holy will today. For we, your loving sons, have lost our way a while. But we have listened to your voice and learned exactly what to do to be restored to heaven and your true identity. And we give thanks today the world endures, but for an instant. We would go beyond that tiny instant to eternity. Alternatively, I seek your holy will today, for I, your loving extension, have lost my way a while. But I have listened to your voice and learned exactly what to do to be restored to the state of pure formless awareness and my true identity. And I give thanks today the world lasts only for a moment. I choose to go beyond that tiny moment to eternity. Yeah, here.
No, so here and now, what he's saying is right here and now, you can go into the moment, into a state of awareness that is eternal, and it's accessible right now.
Mm.
So, the world of form might seem to still be going on, but for you, when you're rooted in that awareness, it's not. You said the other day you were deeply in it, and then you came out, and you're looking at the sofa, and you go, what, how can the sofa still be there? They're just alternate realities. So they have no bearing on each other. The eternal presence will always be there, and then the illusion is going on, and never the twain shall meet. They're not compatible. So I think the danger is then to try and bring the truth into the illusion. And go, well, why isn't the if I've done this, why isn't you're talking about the sofa being dirty? Well, why is that still there?
Mm-hmm.
Trying to bring the truth into the illusion to make changes in the illusion that you desire. See, that's bringing the truth to the illusion.
Yeah.
Whereas bringing the illusion to the truth is simply saying, but the sofa isn't real. So why am I even concerned about the sofa or the dirt, or why am I concerned about anything on the level of form? I shouldn't be. I can just rest in this eternal state, transcendent state. And that's bringing the illusions to the truth.
Okay, yeah, I can feel that. Yeah, I can feel that lived experience.
Yeah.
Mm.
So in every moment, if you can go, okay, I'm bringing the illusions to the truth here by letting them go and denying all reality they have. I'm not trying to fix the illusion, because why would I try and fix an illusion that's not real? I'm simply perceiving it correctly as the unreality it is. And then allowing from that place whatever to happen. I might be guided as to what to say or do, but then that's miraculous. I'm still not believing in the reality of it, even though I'm doing something about it. It's paradoxical thinking, isn't it? Like most people go, how's that possible? But it is. With enough mind training, it is possible. So it's like you're playing a mental game with yourself. You can be in the world, go, okay, well, I can still operate and do things, but without believing in the reality of any of it. Because it's the belief in the reality of it that's the problem. And that belief will just perpetuate more events that seem to engender the belief, seem to support the belief. Okay. So have you read the alternative? Not yet.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Did you read the alternative?
I thought I did, yeah.
Just change that. I've just seen an error there. So seek your wholly aware world today. So this wholly aware world is the real world, which leads us nicely into that. Let's just reverse the order today. So this is the real world. We're on the last one today, last time this year. So have a quick read of this.
The real world is a symbol, like the rest of what perception offers. It stands for what is opposite to what you made. Your world is perceived through eyes of fear and brings the witnesses of terror to your mind. The real world cannot be perceived except through eyes letting go blessers. So they see a world where terror is impossible and witnesses to fear cannot be found.
So you're bringing illusions to the truth. You take everything that you perceive in this world in perception, and you remind yourself that none of it's real. And that's the real world. It's paradoxical, yeah, because you're saying actually it's not real. The real world is the world perceived correctly through the eyes of the Holy Spirit. It says nothing in form is real. So, but what underlies all of it is your true awareness. That's real. So now you see your true awareness everywhere and in everything. And there's a unity unity experience in that. It's a new world where terror is impossible, witnesses to fear cannot be found. Because they don't exist, they're not real. Whatever they are, you simply deny them. If you get good at that, you just, by default, you overlook them. You train your mind not to perceive these things. Ultimately, the highest level of this mind training, you don't see them, you don't perceive them, because you've trained your mind to overlook them. You just overlook whatever's not real.
So I've got a decision to make between continuing to do what I'm doing in a certain thing or to change it completely.
Mm-hmm.
And both of them are illusions. I've just got to choose which illusion I want to go with. But as I'm sitting here, I'm feeling quite an urgent feeling to organize the new plan. And I'm just sitting here wondering, am I doing that through fear? Am I doing that through wanting to push away from the other choice?
Mm-hmm.
That's what was going through my mind, because it feels like I'm tense. My urge is to come off the call and send the email and start organizing it. And truth, normally I'm in peace and nothing rocks my boat and I'm just calm. But neither of the illusions feel too good right now.
So don't do anything.
Yeah, probably not do anything as
Just
good.
sit with it and go, okay, if it doesn't feel right, allow the Holy Spirit the time and space to come in to your mind and guide you. It's okay, well, show me, which one. Maybe it's neither of them. Choosing between delusions is not really a choice.
It felt like the Holy Spirit came in last night and gave me the new idea. But maybe then the ego's kicked in and jumped on the bandwagon.
Yeah, that can happen. So then it's okay, well, I'll go with you on your new journey and I'll try and hijack this and make this into an ego enterprise. And then there's going to be some discord, some fear, maybe some desperation, time, time pressure is always of the ego, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what it feels like. Yeah.
And so the antidote to that is, okay, well, you don't have to be, just sit with it, leave it, and wait until it feels right. And there's a peaceful, so you should, inspiration and motivation, this speaks to the difference between those. Inspiration is coming from a calm, connected place within you. There's no fear, just feels right, and you go, okay, I'll do that because it feels right. I'm not desperate, I don't have to do this, but it feels like the right thing to do, and you do it in that spirit. Forrest Gump, is a good example of that. Just acting, and okay, there wasn't desperation energy. He was just like, I'm doing it because it feels right, and he just did it in the moment. And he was fully immersed in it, without any outcome attachment. That's really the key. Spirit doesn't have an attachment to outcome. Somebody says, well, right here, right now, what does this feel like? Does it feel good? Is it going to be enjoyable? Does it feel right? Feels that way right now, then okay, then do it in that spirit. And then if you keep doing that, you can build things can shift and change. This is how you can build businesses, but you're not time bound, you see. So you can actually go, okay, just in the moment I'll do this, and then the next thing unfolds, and the next moment I'll do this, and the next moment. And you saw that with the Forrest Gump, how one moment leads to another, and he's just really present all the time, and his life kind of flows with ease. The one experience leads into another, and there's no attempt to hold on to it. So he was a football star, but then he didn't have an ego attached to it. So then he went to the army, and he's not sad, because it's like, well, he didn't buy into the ego self-concept that he was a football star. And so then he's fully present in the army, and then he starts playing table tennis, and then he goes to Vietnam, and No, I think he went to Vietnam first, you know. And so, but he's just present. He's like, I'm doing what I'm doing right now, without any reference to the past or future. He's not thinking about future outcome. He's not thinking about his past and, you know, where he could have been. I'm in Vietnam, but I could have been a football star, whatever. It just, okay, I'm just completely here now. And then his whole life unfolds in that sequence of now moments to create quite an extraordinary life. There's some great teaching in there. So, but there was never a sense of trying to plan for the future. There was never any desperation energy. He just, okay, that's, you know, that's what feels right to do now, so I'll do it. So I think when you get to that state and go, okay, it just feels right, I'm peaceful, there's no desperation, there's no urgency, you know, I could not do it. Ask yourself, well, if I didn't do this, what would be the outcome?
It's probably more peaceful not to do it.
Yeah, so, you know, ask yourself these questions. And if it's coming from a place of peace, and you're really connected, then it'll just feel right. And you're acting, but now you're acting without any future orientation. There's no outcome orientation. You're acting in the moment from that state of higher consciousness, of peace. And that's now coming through into whatever you're doing, your emails that you're sending, and, you know, whatever else will permeate all of it. And that energy is then that energy does the trick. You know, your marketing happens through that energetic transfer. But if your energy is out of alignment, then you might be saying, okay, this is a new thing, but the old energy is still present in it, you see. And then it's going to carry that signature, and it's not really anything new. It's just the old stuff recycled into a new form. So if you really want it to be, you know, fresh and new, then you've got to do the letting go in your own mind completely, and just give it to the spirits. I think maybe you haven't done that fully yet. So, okay, I'm going to hand this over. This is your venture. If this is what I'm meant to do, you know, I will just do what I'm instructed. I'm taking instructions. Again, you know, Forrest Gump, great. He went to the army and he just said, you know, my only purpose is to do exactly what you say I'm going to do. Sergeant Major. He says, God damn, you're a genius, Gump. It's kind of humorous, but imagine if we could just do that. The Sergeant Major is the Holy Spirit. You know, my only purpose is to do what you guide me to do, not my will, but thy will be done. So you guide me what to do, and I'm just going to do it. And you're in charge. And because Forrest Gump didn't have an ego, he was able to do that. He didn't resist the instructions. Just followed them. So, you know, maybe try doing some letting go and say, okay, well, you know, I'm letting go of Sally, you know, because Sally wants to come and interfere, doesn't she? I'm letting go of Sally in this, and I'm giving this to the spirit, which is not attached to Sally's past and history and story and any of that. I'm giving it all over, and I'm going to allow this to be just inspired by the spirit 100%, and I'm just the instrument. So you become the instrument of the doing. You know, someone has to type the emails and speak the words and do whatever. But there's no self-concept there. It's not Sally doing it anymore.
Yeah, I think what I've done is I've had an idea, and I've got the guidance who to contact to ask about that. And then I've run in my head right forward and made up a whole story about it. So it feels right. The initial guidance is to contact this particular agency and ask. But the rest is, you know, just ego story stuff.
So it's gone out of the now into future story and expectation, and then you get that, you know, that feeling of not being just peaceful and serene because you've gone out of the now.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean the original insight wasn't correct. It just means the ego's come in to try to hijack it. So you've got to take back control and say, no, you know, I'm going to, well, let's say take back control. You got to let go of your ego's need to control it and allow the Holy Spirit to be in full charge. If it's given you the idea, then it can surely guide you every step of the way as to how to action that idea and bring it into manifestation.
Yeah, that feels more peaceful. Mm.
Rather than trying to hijack it yourself. And that's magic thoughts, which is today's reading from the Manual for Teachers. So maybe we can do a bit of that. I think it might help you. Okay.
Number 2.
Move on to number 2.
The real world holds a counterpart for each unhappy thought reflected in your world, a sure correction for the sights of fear and sounds of battle which your world contains. The real world shows a world perceived differently, through quiet eyes and with a mind at peace. Nothing but rest is there. There are no cries of pain and sorrow heard, for nothing there remains beyond letting go. And the sights are gentle. Only happy sights and sounds can reach the mind that has released itself. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I heard that differently today than the other day. Yeah, only happy sights and sounds can reach the mind that has released itself. Yeah, really get that now.
Can kind of start feeling into it, and that's why I think he says do it 10 times. The more you do it, the more it's like, okay, I'm feeling into it more. It's becoming more real to me, more practical, more doable. Fundamental change in perception. Just overlook anything that's negative. Simply doesn't, it's not there because it's false. Then only happy sights and sounds can reach the mind, has released itself. It's an extraordinary state of consciousness he's pointing to here, but that is what it is to be enlightened, the universal experience that he talks about, which many masters and mystics and yogis and teachers have talked about. Unity consciousness. You just see love and nothing else. Everything else is overlooked because you realize it's not there. It's unreal. It's false.
I was doing a practice this morning of, the dirty sofa scenario. I was like loving every speck of dust, every cobweb, everything perceived. I was loving, just seeing it as love, not loving it, perceiving it.
Perceiving the love beyond it. That's
beyond it. That's right. And letting go of this story or whatever to go with it. Yeah, it's interesting. I can see how many times I've been triggered by, a little bit of a cobweb or something like that. It's so subtle and so minor that you don't notice about it, but I could see how many times I did it subtly.
And so you're tuning into the subtle movements of the ego now, and getting much more refined. Just these little subtle things that you wouldn't have noticed before, which trigger you, and that they move you away from pure formless awareness of perfect love, and now you're aware of them, so you can let them go.
And what occurred to me is they're very subtle and they don't really matter, but if you have a lot of them, they take you down the rabbit hole, don't they?
But they do matter. Every one of them matters.
Yeah.
Because every one of them, you're covering over your true awareness, you're covering over the truth, and you're creating an illusion. It's part of perpetuating the illusion in your mind. So yes, you're saying, no, they all matter. The slightest irritation is a cover for intense rage, he says at some point. So you're slightly irritated at, the sofa being dirty. We'll dig a bit deeper. It's like the iceberg, you see 10% on the surface, but go underneath the surface, and then you see there's this great dark block of anger and rage beneath that. That's now manifesting in a little irritation. So saying, look at the small things, because those are the clues to the deeper, underlying stuff. that sits in your subconscious.
It's funny, that's what I tell all the people I teach it all the time.
Yeah.
And then I haven't quite got it myself.
Well, that's how it goes, isn't it? You're just being taught.
Learning.
You teach it because you really are teaching yourself.
Yes.
The Holy Spirit is teaching you now through a voice. But it's not, there's no personal self. It's just the Spirit coming in through whatever the particular instrument is of it. So okay, so happy with number 2?
Yeah, that's lovely. Thank you. Number 3. What need has such a mind for thoughts of death, attack, and murder? What can it perceive surrounding it except safety, love, and joy? What is there it could choose to be condemned? And what is there it could judge against? The world it perceives arises from a mind at peace within itself. No danger lurks in anything it perceives, for it is kind, and only kindness does it look upon. Yeah, no danger lurks. That used to be a real bugbear of mine. Don't get past it.
But you would see danger in things.
Yeah, I didn't. It was subconscious, but it was just, a pattern of behavior from a long time ago. And I wasn't really aware of it because I'd buried it really well. But over the recent years, I've let it go. And I still think there's a shadow of it, but certainly not a stronghold on me anymore.
Yeah, so our job is to become finer and finer in our search for the fetters or the blocks. In the Buddhist teaching, they call them fetters. They're blocks to awareness of love's presence, and you become subtler and subtler because the blocks can be very subtle. A major block like ego, like anger or guilt, strong egoic emotions, obvious. But it's the subtle ones. It's the minor irritation. Just go, that's a subtle block, isn't it? A little bit of anxiety. You're thinking about the future, and there's just a touch of anxiety that comes in. That's a subtle block. You have an idea, like now, you've just had one, and then you start to get into a bit of a desperation, kind of anxious state. That's a subtle block. And so it's getting very, very subtle and say, okay, even the subtle movements away from pure formless awareness, I must look at. I must be conscious of them. And then in that moment, I can choose to let them go. And so you've just cleaned another part of your ego away. Okay, I can let that go, and I can restore my mind in the moment to pure formless awareness of perfect love. And then that block is gone, and it can, once I've seen it, and I've really dealt with it, it doesn't present again because you've let it go. And so the entirety, how do you let go of this enormous false thought system that the ego is? And it can seem overwhelming. Well, you just do it moment by moment as it presents itself. In the big blocks or the subtle blocks, you're aware of them, and you choose in that moment to let it go. Say, no, I don't believe in this. It's not real. It's not true. So I don't think about it further. I don't foster it in any way. I don't perpetuate it. It just ends there because you recognize its unreality. It's meaningless and it's unreal. And of course, the more you practice this way of thinking, the easier it becomes. You actually have quite a lot of fun. Oh, well, that's just equally unreal. It's all unreal. And so I'm completely free of whatever the ego invents in time and space, because it's all unreal. And then there's a happy lightheartedness and a freedom and a joy and peace that comes over you because you realize you're not bound by any of it. Just an unreal dream that you're dreaming, which will be over soon. So it's no big deal. You can just let it play itself out for the next 20, 30 years. A moment. You think, he says a moment, in eternal time, with eternity as the perspective, or even taking all of time, let's say the universe has been around 15 billion years, apparently. Taking all of time, I mean, what is 20 years? It's a moment. It's over like that. This is kind of the perspective that he's giving us with this quote. You know, your life is a moment in time. To you, it seems like a long time, maybe 70, 80 years, but actually, it's just a tiny instant, a moment, in the dream, and it's going to be over very quickly. So he's trying to give us that perspective through the lesson, and through that to help us to collapse some more of the belief in the ego and connect with the spirit in that eternal state. Okay, so number 3, I want to give a little summary of that. We'll move on to number 4. What's he saying there?
Any tiny little judgment is not a peace of mind. So, well, my interpretation is you notice the disruption to your energy, however small it is.
And to recognize that even the thought of dirt on the sofa is a thought of death, attack, and murder.
Yeah, I see that.
And most people go, well, that's a bit over the top and shocking, but it's the truth. That something being wrong, anything being wrong, means that this thought system of death, attack, and murder is somehow real, and now love is denied. So he's asking us just to be very honest, very vigilant, and very honest in observing our mind. Saying, okay, well, I just got to recognize these things for what they are. If I can see them clearly for what they are, and I'm honest about that, and I'm not trying to convince myself that it's okay to have thoughts of death, attack, and murder, then the game is up for the ego. So it's got no space anymore. So most people, oh, well, that doesn't really matter. A little bit of irritation, because it's just normal. It's part of being human. This is an excuse, isn't it? Oh, well, it's just I'm just human after all. You've heard that one before, haven't you? That excuse. I'm just human. No, well, you see the misidentification there. In order to justify your error, you've had to now believe in a false self-concept. I'm human. Okay, therefore my errors are justified. Therefore, I'll continue to make errors and I'll continue to be human. And then you kept away from your divine reality as pure formless awareness of perfect love. You see how it all works. And it's only those who are really vigilant and willing. Okay, I want to escape from this crazy thought system of death, attack, and murder, because I can see just how desperate and unhappy it is. So I'm willing to be really honest with myself and really vigilant of all the thoughts and the emotions that tempt me on a daily basis to deny the truth and believe in the illusion. Okay, so happy to move on to number 4.
Yeah, so I've written down, let go of all cobwebs, any and all disturbances, letting go of the death wish. Funny.
Because it's all symbolic of the death of God. Pure formless awareness has died, and now you have a replacement for it, which is dysfunctional. And that upsets you over and over and over again, until you realize what the ego is doing, and you refuse to play the game. And then you can realize, well, it's just a game, and none of it's true. Cobwebs, literal cobwebs or figurative cobwebs, dirt on the sofa, a psychopath killing multiple people, a war, a COVID pandemic. It doesn't matter. It's all unreal. There's no hierarchy of illusions. An illusion is an illusion is an illusion. It's all false. But then if I can realize that in every moment, I'm free. And then truly, you know, the lesson is true for us. This world endures, will last only for a moment. Because in the moment, we just let it go. It's not real anymore in our mind. Okay. So number 4, the real world is a symbol.
The real world is the symbol that the dream of sin and guilt is over, and perfect love's extension no longer sleeps. Its waking eyes perceive the sure reflection of its source's love, a certain promise that it is freed. The real world signifies the end of time, for its perception makes time purposeless.
Okay. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think I'm getting it more and more that the more I look at the world, the more I look at other people, I just see love. And yeah, it does feel freer. But it is freedom.
Yeah. So you must start with perceiving correctly. So you're never going to attain perfect oneness straight away. You know, you're in time, you have perception going on. So let's work on changing your perception. Starting to bring all of your illusions to the truth, clean your mind. So by the end of your life, there's no need to come back. You've cleaned them all away. You've let them all go. You don't need to come back and experience them again because they're not real in your belief. So how could you come back to an unreal world that you no longer believe in? See, it doesn't exist for you anymore.
Yeah.
But one thought of this world's reality will bring you back here. That's how karma works.
Mm.
Because now it's real for you, and that draws you back into another lifetime, another body. So it's saying, you know, to really free yourself from this, you know, you need to go to this level. You have to deny it all, and you have to do it while you're still here. Because if you don't do it, and then you pass away, and your mind is incorporeal, you won't have the opportunity to do it there. You don't get triggered in the same way. You know, those beliefs would still be there. Your karma would still be intact, to put it another way. And that egoic energy will pull you back. So if you have a look at the timeline, again, it's quite well demonstrated here. So we have to learn this while we're here. You know, and all the traumas, whatever else happens in our life, the opportunity to go back into pure formless awareness and experience that. And every time we forgive or we let go and we go here, we recognize the unreality of the world and the dream and the character that's dreaming the dream. We no longer see ourselves as a character, a real character in the stream. We see that it's all false. Well, if we haven't prepared ourselves in life by doing this frequently, when we come to die and our body is laid aside, we still have all of these beliefs going on. Nothing's really changed. So we just we bypass pure formless awareness, perfect love, because we've denied that. We stay for a while incorporeal, but the mind has still got all these psychological and emotional attachments. And then those attachments bring you back into the world because they have to be played out somewhere. And you come to the world to play them out. And then you're reborn so that you can play out another dream and you can play out your karma. And then in that lifetime, you'll have the same opportunities you did in everyone. So in this one, you know, you have a chance to learn it finally. It's okay. Well, finally, the truth's being revealed to me. You know, I can no longer say I don't know it because you do know it, you know, in detail all the support, detailed lessons, diagrams, the whole works, all being shown to you. So this is your opportunity to completely let it go. To let go of this crazy timeline that we call a human life and go, that's just okay, never again. I'll play this one out. I'm somewhere here, got another 20, 30 years to go and a few more experiences, but never again. Do I want to be born again and go through the whole story again? No, thank you. I just want pure formless awareness of perfect love.
Isn't it a bit funny that we have to go through the illusion of death? That most people die with an illness. They go through a process before they let go completely. I don't know, just what crosses my mind is, how come sometimes we or people, I don't even know how you talk about it because there's only me here, but how come it doesn't just happen halfway through the dream and that you just come out of the dream? Why does it always seem that we go through the process right to the end, dreaming up some illness before we leave?
It doesn't have to be that way. Some people die sudden death. They have an accident, they commit suicide. It can just end. The dream can end suddenly.
But why does it have to dream with an accident or suicide? Why can't we just come out of the dream and just, pop and it's gone? Because you suddenly, how come we can't just suddenly realize, oh my goodness, I get it now, and then just dematerialize?
Well, I suppose you could. The highest level. It's called ascension. Your body just disappears. But it's a very high state of mind to do that. As far as we know, only one person's done it. That was Yeshua, and he had to die first in order to do it. So, practically speaking, in the way the dream plays out, it's like, well, something will kill you. Even great masters like Yogananda, Ramana, there was some illness that had to kill the body, so they could be liberated. The Buddha, he died of food poisoning. You know that?
No.
Yeah. He ate some rotten meat apparently, and then had but that was just the form of it. He would have known, okay, well, this is just the way that the form is going to be done away with, and my mind is going to be freed from the body. So no major drama. I mean, Ramana had cancer, no drama. He's just sitting in bliss anyway.
So maybe it's those in the ego illusion make the illness real, and the person that leaves just leaves regardless, and people are projecting their own stories onto people.
We have this weird, medical science. At all costs they must save a life, even if the person is really old and suffering. Their thing is to save a life because they believe scientific materialist paradigm says that this is life. What we have here is life, and so you must hold on to this as long as you can, because afterwards there's nothing. So you got to keep someone alive, even though it's inevitable they're going to die at some point. So you can only do that for so long. It's a crazy thought system, right? It's like, it doesn't make any sense because everyone's going to die. So why are you prolonging it? If someone's in agony, why would you prolong their agony? Why not just let them go? But it's a false value system that's saying, well, we're valuing this world and the illusion, and your special life, that is your life. And without an awareness, there's that actually isn't your life at all. That there is an eternal life beyond that is waiting for you. That is much better. That's the truth. So why would you want to hold on to what's false? So if you've really done this work, by the end of your life, death is just the final letting go. It's graduation. It's okay. One last letting go. I let go of the body. I drop it all. There's no beliefs in it anymore. I certainly don't want anything that the body and this world can offer me. I've cleaned my mind of all of that, and I just merge. God takes the final step. I merge back into this awareness, and I'm one with it.
Yeah, because I imagine it to be for myself, not to have any illness, and just not because I'm pushing against it at all, but just for it just to be a case of I feel it's the end now, and just let it go, and just be a case of like the physical body to an outsider would see me asleep, unconscious and past. But no drama, no illness, no long story. I just don't see that's necessary.
No, it's not. You could just leave. In the Star Wars movies, the Jedi, once they've done their thing and they've come to the end of their life, they just leave and the body just dematerializes. So, okay, poof pop, and it's gone. So that's symbolic of the ascension process. Okay, it just dissolves, and they go back to spirit.
Is there any records of anybody like the body starting to dematerialize while they're still physically here? So I imagine the body would get less dense and less dense the more you let go of, and to a point where you can see through it.
Yeah, sure. Good example. So he died, he resurrects, comes back into the so-called physical body because he needs that for a while more. But he's so much in the spirit. There's so much life energy that body is no longer that very heavy. It's very light, and it can materialize and dematerialize at will. So there's records of him. He goes and he sees his disciples in a room, and he's there for a while, and then he just disappears.
Yeah.
He says, I'll see you again in Judea. He says to them, go to Galilee. And then he disappears. They go, where did he go? How could he just disappear? But because his body was no longer, really that material.
Yeah, I was having the experience when I was qualifying in the energy alignment method. I was doing a lot of that work, and it was coming to a point where on the Zoom, I was just like disappearing, like you could hardly see me. I was kind of just blending in. I was on such a vibrational state that people say you're disappearing. It's like you're just melting into the wall or something. And that was like really interesting. Like, oh, is that what happens? Is that possible for me to do that? Not that I was trying to do it. There's no efforting or desire, but just how interesting that you can get to that vibrational state where you're looking like light, so light that you're not really visible.
Yeah, I think it is possible. There's been records. I don't know if you ever watched the X-Files. Did you ever watch that program? It's an American program about extraordinary paranormal phenomena. They'd investigate one of those every week. There's a story on, and then the guy would disappear, just dematerialize, and you couldn't see him. He was like an invisible man. Whether that's true, but you start kind of going, well, if there are these stories where there's smoke, there's fire. There's probably some truth to it. In some of these places like Tibet, Nepal, where they practice a lot of these a lot of mystic practices and arts for hundreds and if not thousands of years, you do get these kinds of extraordinary people who can do extraordinary things like Langompa. Your body becomes so light that they moonwalk. They can jump like 10 meters. They transcend gravity. So that's a lightning. There's people who can levitate in meditation. Again, it's a lightening of the body. It's no longer bound by the laws of gravity. So that's all a symbol that the body's starting to dematerialize. Taken to its extreme, that would be ascension. So it's recorded in the Bible that Yeshua ascended. He just disappeared, ascended up into heaven, and quite exactly what happened we don't know, but the description is the heavens opened and he was taken up. In the what was that movie I suggested you watch, Risen? Did you watch that? No,
not yet.
You didn't watch Risen. So yeah, it'll come Easter next year. We'll watch it again. He just ascends. He goes into the desert, and his disciples are all there, and he stands and he just suddenly there's this flash of light, and it's just, that's the way they symbolize. I suspect it probably wouldn't be as dramatic as that. It'd probably just be like the body disappearing. In the Star Wars, they got it right. There's a lot of symbolism in these movies. So the Jedi just disappear. The body just, and the clothes are left, and the body leaves, and there's nothing there. Which is it's symbolic of this. So I think it is possible. But, it doesn't matter really. I mean, it's only.
I imagine it is possible, yes, but it's just it feels quite comforting to know that. Yeah, it makes sense in my head. It didn't make sense that you had to have this death scenario. But yeah, good.
You could just decide to lay the body aside. Yogananda, apparently, he told people, said to his disciples, "Yeah, I'm gonna pass away soon, in a month." And they were like, "Well," so he knew, and he had a heart attack, but it was like he'd chosen. That was his exit, and he knew before, in the time before, his hours before, it was like he knew it was coming. It's like, okay, I know I'm about to pass.
Yeah, I imagine that. I imagine I'd know, or we'd know.
Yeah. Well, once you become, tapped in, there was another Course in Miracles teacher, a guy called Terry Winchester in South Africa, and also, just very high. He attained a very high state, and before his passing, he phoned everyone. He phoned his, all family, friends, students, and just said, he didn't say as much like I'm going to die, but it was like afterwards I went, yeah, he phoned us all and he was saying his goodbyes, although he couldn't say as much because he couldn't really say, okay, well, I know I'm going to pop off tomorrow, so I'm just saying my goodbyes because then everyone's going to freak out. But just because he knew, okay, it's my time has come, and so I'm going to say my goodbyes, and no fuss and no drama. I'm just laying the body aside. And becoming incorporeal again, which is my natural state. Because if you're not attached to the body, then what's the drama?
Yeah.
It wasn't even real. Your whole experience was unreal. So why are you sad at the passing of what is unreal? Actually, a time for celebration. The Irish have the right idea. The wake. It's like a celebration of graduation day. You've actually transcended and hopefully learned your lessons, so you don't have to come back. And that's why we're doing the work now. So, well, don't wait until your deathbed, do it now, so when your time comes, it's the job's done.
Yeah, that's my theory. Yeah.
Okay. So real world signifies the end of time, for its perception makes time purposeless. So every time you perceive the real world, in other words, you've let go of some attachment to the false world, you are transcending time. And so every time you do that, it's a miniature version of your death, of letting go of the whole illusion, which is why forgiveness can be quite difficult for people. Because every time you do it, it's like another part of you dies. The ego dies. And it helps you to then transcend in that instance, and then in another one. And if you keep doing that, this connection gets so strong. The blue arrow becomes all there is. You go, that's all that's really there. And there's this continuous connection to my source. And the red arrows and the whole timeline just doesn't exist for you anymore. It's not important. You overlook it quickly, easily.
What comes to my mind is I used to feel really heavy, literally really heavy, and now I feel really light. And yeah, I let go of a lot of beliefs and a lot of stuff. But yeah, literally feeling lighter and lighter all the time.
You can sort of see how someone might be able to, if they carried on doing this, they might be able to levitate or do moonwalking, because your body's so light, there's nothing there. You're no longer bound by the laws of gravity. which is a time space construct law. You're not bound by that anymore. And you freed your mind from that, and the body just follows the mind. You can do these things in the body because the mind is in the right state.
Interesting.
So these powers, like the cities, things like levitation and moonwalking and whatever, walking on hot coals, or they come because the mind has changed fundamentally. If there's attachment to the cities, then you've lost the plot again. That's magic. Magic thoughts, which we'll get into if we have time. Well, we said 3 o'clock, so I'm not sure we'll have time for that. Anyway, let's finish the
Number 5.
Number 5, yeah.
The remembrance of perfect love has no need of time. When it has served its purpose, we're just saying we haven't got time.
Yeah.
Now it waits just one moment more for pure formless awareness of perfect love to take its final step, and then time has disappeared, taking perception with it as it does and leaving only the truth to be itself. That moment is our goal, for it contains the memory of perfect love. And as we look upon a world released, it is this presence that calls to us and comes to take us home, reminding us of our identity, which is our letting go has restored to us. Yeah, so time is a denial of pure formless awareness, isn't it?
Yeah. Time is part of the covering over of it. Time and space, which are a belief. He says in the beginning, of course, time is merely a belief, as is space. So the whole time-space continuum is a continuum of belief. We got caught up in our own false belief. The only way out of it is to correct that belief.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, it all feels so right. Yeah.
Because you're aligning with universal purpose, which is to transcend time and go home. That's the universal curriculum. So if you align with that, then you're in accordance with truth. And if you deny it, then all you have remaining is the illusion. Okay, well then I must be human, and the world must be real, and everything that happens here must be real, and I will suffer and die. Those are the choices.
Very good.
Okay, so shall we 20 minutes till 3 o'clock. Do you want to do a meditation?
Yeah, sure.
All right, so just making yourself comfortable, sitting with your feet shoulder width apart, back straight, cup your hands in your lap, close your eyes, and start off with a nice deep breath in through the nose. So breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises, and the subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Just pausing at the top of the inhale. Squeeze the sphincter muscle to lock the energy in. Draw the energy up into your heart center. Put one hand on your heart. Connect with your heart space. Bring yourself into the present moment through all of these subtle sensations of the breath. You feel your heart, your hand. Bring yourself into the present moment. Breathe in again. So that's a full maximal inhale breath. And now just notice any thoughts, any emotions going on in your mind, any sensations, particularly anything that feels negative, limiting, contracted, constricting in any way. And Remind yourself that this world and all of its problems, seeming problems, and anything that's triggering these thoughts and emotions lasts only for a moment. And then you exhale. Just blowing it all out, blowing it away. The breeze of your breath into the nothingness that it really is. Just going, gone. Letting it all go and finding the stillness. It's beyond it. The ground of being. Pure formless awareness of perfect love. Call it whatever you want. The only thing that matters is that you experience it. You have the universal experience towards which all of these lessons and all of the spiritual practices you do point right now in the eternal now moment. The now is the only access to eternity that we have. Can't be thinking about the past or the future. These domains don't exist. It's just false thought. You can only be fully present now and experience that there is an awareness that is beyond time. So breathe this awareness in and out, and you're just going to focus on observing the breath flowing into your nostrils and out of your nostrils. Observe the subtle sensations of the breath. Feel the energy moving throughout your body. And just tuning in, getting more and more subtle with your perceptions. Tuning into the deeper reality and self. So keep watching your breath, keep your mind in this nice, calm, clear, empty, open, aware state, and just allow these words I'm going to read from insert 8, which is about what is the real world. Just allow these to permeate into your awareness, dropping in to the stillness, and like a pebble dropping into a still calm lake on a windless day. The ripple effects will be noticeable. And the pebble will remain in your subconscious, in the mud of the lake. So just keep watching the breath. I remind you to do that every so often. You listen to these words on what is the real world. So the real world, says Yeshua, is a symbol like the rest of what perception offers. Yeah, it stands for what is opposite to what you made. Your world is perceived through eyes of fear and brings the witnesses of terror to your mind. The real world cannot be perceived except through eyes letting go of blessings. So they see a world where terror is impossible. And witnesses to fear cannot be found. So the real world holds a counterpart for each unhappy thought reflected in your world. A sure correction for the sights of fear and sounds of battle which your world contains. The real world shows a world perceived differently, through quiet eyes and with the mind at peace. Nothing but rest is there. There are no cries of pain and sorrow heard, for nothing there remains beyond letting go. And the sights are gentle. Only happy sights and sounds can reach the mind that has released itself. Just breathing in and out through the nose. Feel that happiness coming over you, breathing it into every pore, every cell, every muscle of your body, every part of your mind, every fiber of your being is in this happiness. New lessons pointing to. Everything is calm and gentle. That's what you choose it to be. So, what need is such a mind for thoughts of death, attack, and murder? And these can happen in very subtle forms, just a tiny irritation, a little bit of frustration, some anxiety. These are the forms of death, attack, and murder that preoccupy our minds and make the thought system of the ego real. So we must be willing to look at them honestly and choose to let them go. What can the awakened mind perceive surrounding it except safety, love, and joy? Asks Yeshua. What is there it could choose to be condemned? What is there it could judge against? What is there it could judge against? Indeed, there is the world it perceives arises from a mind at peace within itself. So no danger lurks in anything it perceives. For it is kind, and only kindness does it look upon. And so just settle into this loving kindness. Buddhists have a loving kindness meditation where they experience it and they extend it out to all beings, all people and other sentient beings. So maybe you want to do that now. Just feel this loving kindness, breathe it into every part of your body, every pore, every cell, every muscle. Breathing into your heart center, put one hand on your heart, slip down, connect with it, and then just extend what you're feeling with your breath. Have a sense that it's flowing to everyone and everything, permeating through you to bless and to heal. So the real world is the symbol that the dream of sin and guilt is over, and perfect love's extension no longer sleeps. Waking eyes perceive the sure reflection of its source's love. Certain promise that it is freed. Real world signifies the end of time, for its perception makes time purposeless. So you're being freed from believing in time at all. Whenever you forgive or let go, that reveals the real world to you. The world that you perceive as unreal. Even a paradox. It's the real world in Yeshua's language, but it's actually the world that you perceive as unreal. And you remain rooted then in what's real, which is your true awareness. That's just peaceful, loving, and happy no matter what. So the remembrance of perfect love, Yeshua continues, has no need of time. It has served its purpose. Now it waits just one moment more for pure formless awareness of perfect love to take its final step. And then time has disappeared, taking perception with it as it does, and leaving only the truth to be itself. So Yeshua is saying that this presence, the truth, will take the final step. We just have to be willing to take the steps leading up to that. Finally, we will just merge. Minds will be so corrected in this one awareness that they will just merge back into it. And then we'll be free, entirely of time and space. So that moment where there's only the truth and we are completely free of all illusions, is our goal. For it contains the memory of perfect love. And as we look upon a world released, it is this presence that calls to us and comes to take us home, reminding us of our identity, which our letting go is restored to us. So now let's have a look at the lesson. Today's lesson, just breathe in again. Remind yourself as you do that, that this world lasts only for a moment. But you bring yourself into the moment, and you connect with your source, the presence beyond time and space, and this moment will extend to eternity. We'll leave time behind entirely, the domain of perception of shifting, changing appearances, and you enter into the present moment. So this world lasts only for a moment. Use that to help you let go of any thoughts of death and sorrow. So Yeshua says this is a thought which can be used to say that death and sorrow are the certain light of all who come here, for their joys are gone before they are possessed or even grasped. So the ego can misinterpret that and feel a bit depressed. So just notice any of those kinds of thoughts coming up, breathe into them, and yet he never leaves us in the ego misperceptions, gives us the alternative. Yet this is also the idea that lets no false perception keep us in its hold, nor represent more than a passing cloud upon a sky eternally serene. So have a sense of breathing in the light beyond the clouds of thoughts and emotions. You're just in this blue sky, which is your pure formless awareness, the light of your source shining through it. This is the sky eternally serene that Yeshua is pointing to, using as an analogy to point to true awareness and the eternal nature of it. Sky never doesn't change. Cloud patterns change all the time. Sky never changes in truth. So your exhales, blow it all away. The breeze of your breath. Imagine you're just blowing away these clouds. And leaving you gone to the nothingness they really are. Expel them all out with the breath. And just rest in this serene state. There's this serenity. Sky eternally serene. It's this serenity we seek. Unclouded, obvious, and sure. So just surrender into that serenity. Serenity and eternity, there's only one letter difference. So serenity is a product of being in an eternal state of mind. So seek it and find it right now. Say a prayer before we have a couple of minutes of silence. Say, I seek your holy aware world today, for I, your loving extension, have lost my way a while. But I have listened to your voice and learned exactly what to do to be restored to the state of pure formless awareness and my true identity. And I give thanks today. The world lasts for only a moment. So breathe that thanks in, gratitude. Go into this timeless moment and realize that in this moment you're saved. And in this moment, the world is all undone. So you give thanks that the world lasts only for a moment. It's all undone. And say, I choose to go beyond that tiny moment to eternity. And then rest. Exhale. Exhale is a natural letting go of all thoughts and emotions, the clouds that seem to obscure this eternally serene sky, and just rest in the sky. Just rest in this eternal state, this perfect peace, serenity of the now for a couple of minutes of deep silence. Nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. Just breathe, relax, observe the breath flowing in and out through your nostrils. Surrender fully to the now. That surrender to the now, being totally present, is going into eternity. Go beyond a tiny moment of time into eternity right now. Now, if any thoughts come in, just being willing to let them go, blow them away. The breeze of your breath, like dark clouds, they have no power to obscure the eternally serene sky. Your true mind. And just rest in that awareness, in this eternally serene sky. Sky is you, you are the sky. This is your awareness. There's nowhere where you begin and the sky ends. You're all of it. So feel yourself merging into this eternally serene sky. Serenity and the peace, love just washing through you. No longer a self-concept to individualize and resist this. So you just surrender to it, allow it. Rest in this eternal state of mindful. And so gently coming back to an awareness of the body and the breath, senses in the world, and on the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So 1, it's breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises and the subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Feel the energy rising up the spine, drawing it up into your heart center and then into the crown of your head. Pausing at the top of the inhale, smile. scan your mind and notice what's going on there. Maybe it's just open, spacious awareness, pure formless awareness, eternally serene sky. If that's the case, just acknowledge it, smile. If there's anything that's clouding that, just notice that too, and decide to let it go with the help of your breath. In today's lesson, say, this world endures only for an instant. This world lasts only for a moment, and so I exhale. Blow it all away with the breeze of your breath into the nothingness that it really is. Going, gone. Pull the lower stomach into the spine, expel the last remaining air out. And rest in this awareness for a few moments. Gap between breaths is a little portal to eternity, so notice that. At the same time, you can notice the weight of your body pressing down into the chair. Count of 2, notice the feet touching the ground, notice what you're feeling with your hands touching. Maybe there's a subtle taste in your mouth. As you breathe in again, notice any smell in your nose. Notice what you're hearing. Surrounding environment, but without any judgment. So just clean perception, without interpretation, without judgment of the ego. You stay rooted in this eternally serene sky, which is your true awareness. So set that intention, anchor that in. To help you do that, you can practice today's lesson frequently. Just top yourself up every hour. It can only be a few moments just to remind yourself of the lesson, take a breath, connect with the energy of it, and let go of anything that's covering it over. Or you can listen to the 4-minute breath break recording I've sent you if you have a bit more time. And that should keep you in the state of being very peaceful, and the eternally serene sky of your mind will be undisturbed. That's what I wish for you for the rest of the afternoon and evening and weekend ahead. So it is said, so it is done. Now, on the count of 3, open your eyes. So just take a moment to look around, observing various things in the room around you, very casually, in a very detached way. There's no attempt to look at anything particular or avoid anything particular. Just whatever your eyes happen to rest on for a moment. Notice that the peace that you felt, this serene state of mind, is still very much there. And if you look at something else, move your eyes to something else, it's also there, and it's in everything. So do that for half a dozen objects, just for a couple of seconds at a time, and notice that this peace underlies everything that you see with your eyes and you perceive with your senses. So you're training your mind to know that this peace is the truth. This is your reality. This is your truth. This is who you are. And the illusions are not true. And the sense perceptions and judgments of those sense perceptions, interpretations by the ego, are not true. And those are just clouds that obscure the truth of the eternally serene sky. So stay rooted in that by practicing today's lesson frequently, and yeah, hope to see you again on Sunday. We'll be looking at maybe doing a Sunday afternoon session this Sunday. Does that work for you, Sally? Okay, so Sally's gone. So I guess that brings an end to the session. So thank you, Sally, for joining, and thanks everyone for listening. If you caught the recording, I will post a translated version of today's reading. This is from section 17 on What Are Magic Thoughts, a bit later for you to read tonight. So it's me signing off. Wish you much peace and love, and that you remain in the eternally serene sky of pure formless awareness. Namaste. Which means the eternally serene presence of truth in me acknowledges and honors that same presence of truth in you.